Shivkumar from IEN, I need to change to Global Empowerment Network. Yes, I will consider that. Thank you so much. Hey guys, so it's time now. Maybe we wait for 2 to 3 minutes and then we jump in. Cool. I think let's move forward. Otherwise, we will run short of time. So first of all, many thanks for all the people who are joining from all over the world. It's a great pleasure for us to welcome you all. It's going to be amazing journey for next 2 hours. You will learn quite a lot of soft skills, which are not normally taught in any, even in the business schools. So we are really happy to train you in all these things. So today, it's not only me, we are three speakers. So it's me, Jagadeesh Gandla. We have Arun, who is an expert from Berlin. He's in Berlin right now. And we have Manoj, who is a startup coach from past decade. I think he has overall 15 years experience. Arun has around 15 years experience. Myself, I have around 12 to 13 years experience. I think overall we are bringing a knowledge of around 40 years to you to train you on a couple of soft skills. So before jumping into the CV or the things that what I want to teach, so I will tell you who is presenting that. It's a Facebook group called Indian Empowerment Network. I will explain you what it is. Let me just check. So Arun, if I get any personal messages, please can you tell me, because I think I won't be seeing the messages. But anyway, so it's a Facebook group. I am representing Indian Empowerment Network. Arun is representing CDG Career Development Group, and Manoj and I are co-founders of Day to Start, and he will be representing Day to Start. So before jumping into CV, let me tell you who am I, because I think 99% of the people doesn't know who am I. So my name is Dr. Jagadeesh Gandla. I'm from India, but I live right now in Munich, Germany. I'm currently working as an accelerator program manager in an organization called EIT Health. It's a European Union organization, and I help startups to identify mentors and also identify patients and citizen organizations called Living Labs. And I'm also a career coach in the sense I help students to make good CVs, good resumes, and how to just generally develop soft skills. Today, I will be training you on a couple of things about networking as well as CV. So what I will tell you today is that what is a CV, what is a resume, differences between both, and also exploring. I mean, I won't go in depth because I have only half an hour time, and there are also many others who has more knowledge packed, and they want to deliver that. So we'll go just overview of a couple of things, and also I will tell you more about networking. So why networking is so important these days, and how, according to me, what are the elements for networking. Even networking is a big topic, but we will touch just the tip of the iceberg, and so that you'll get all the main insights. Okay, so I mean, before really understanding what is a CV, or what you want to, how like what you need to have in your CV, I want to tell about the mindset of CV. Why you need to have a different type of mindset. So it's like you need to be your own sculptor. So it's like you have all the elements, but you need to design that document where it shows the beauty in you. So it's like a professional beauty thing of yours, and you need to expose that to outside audience. So that's why I put a picture here. There, he himself is what to say, sculpting a beautiful monument out of it. Okay, and so most of you may be hearing words like CV or resume. So, but people don't really understand what is the difference of it. And let's look a bit basics. What is a CV? CV is curriculum vitae. In Latin, it means course of life. So, in a couple of lives, like in years of your life, what did you do professionally? So, this is what is a CV. It could be a document in print or online, and it needs to have your achievements, awards, honors, publications, universities, etc. Normally, it could be one page or it could be 12 pages. So 12 to 16 is the maximum that I saw in my career, because many academics use CVs and they have a lot of things to show. So that's why they use big CVs. And then what is a resume? Resume is all about work history and experiences. So it's not same as CV. It's just only work experiences and history, and it should have only brief summary of your skills and education, and it has to be single page. So in short, resume is one page. So according to length, it's very short, and the content should be, it could be the summary of skills, experiences, and education. And the purpose is to get an interview for an employment. So that's when you use your resume. And whereas the CV is as long as it takes. So as I said, I saw 16 pages, I think is the maximum CV I saw, but we normally see 2 to 3 pages, and afterwards you lose track of it. And the content, what you should put in CV is it's actually area specific. So you need to include the specific skills like education or the background if you are an academic like me. So you kind of put all your research papers, techniques, and etc. And the purpose is it could be just again for applying jobs, or it could be promotion or applying for grants or specialist programs, awards, etc. So both have different perspectives, different needs, and also different countries where you reside. For example, if you're in US, mostly you use resume. If you are in Germany or India, you use CVs. So based on that, you need to kind of understand when to use resume or when to use CV. So take home message: resume is single page, CV could be multiple pages. Okay. And not every CV is same. Like this proverb, it says that one size doesn't fit all. So every person needs are different. So you need to tailor your CVs accordingly. And what is the purpose of the CV or resume? So in general, like, why do you need these documents? Like, you have all academic degrees, you have all the experience, you have the skill sets, but why do you need it? Why you need is that to inform employer or the company that you will be hired about all the things what you have. It could be experiences, skills, capabilities, accolades, like any certificates or some kind of fellowships, and also the interests that you have. Okay. And mainly the blunt term that I use is to sell yourself. So you might be good in something, but people need to understand that you are good at that, right? So you need to, if in order to sell yourself, that's when you need these documents. It could be also a way of telling the employer that you are the right fit by showing the exact things that they need. So if you are applying for jobs, you may be knowing that something called ATS, maybe Arun will talk about that. So there's this application tracking system. It's all about using right terminology and everything. So it's exactly to tell why you are a right fit. That's when you need CV or resume. And when to use a CV or resume, I mean, it really depends. So whenever people ask for a CV, just send them a CV. If they ask for a resume, send them a resume. I mean, it's not kind of strict that when to use what, but when they ask for a resume, send only resume. But when they ask for a CV, you can also send a resume. So it doesn't matter. Okay, and as I was telling you, a CV could be a document or it could be online. So it could be a printed document or an online document. And recently, I also saw creative CVs. They were video CVs. So people were making like 1 minute of pitch about themselves, and they were all creative CVs. So you can also make video CVs when you apply for jobs. And you can also make audio CVs. So audios in the sense you can send sound clips. And I haven't seen much of the audio CVs. I saw only once, but video CVs I saw quite a lot. And graphic CVs. So if you are a graphic designer or if you are applying for a video editor, some kind of job, so you can show them creatively by making your CVs. So if you have extra talents, show them. So there is no standard format, and people think that CVs are always documents, but recent trends shown us that it could be also many other ways. It could be video CVs, and especially when you show creative CVs, people kind of tend to like you immediately. Okay, and let's dig now a bit more about CV. We won't talk much about resume. So those were the main fundamentals. I talked about resume, but now we will talk more about the CV, more about the curriculum vitae. So this is the first time where normally you will tell all about yourself. Normally, even in the interviews or anywhere else, you won't talk much about yourself. You'll be combining everything, also taking the perspective of the person who is interviewing and all the things. But in the CV, it's all about you. So you need to tell what you are, like what you have achieved, what are your grades, and everything. Okay, so CVs are an opportunity to show an employee that why you are the ideal candidate for the job application. Okay, and a good CV. So how does a good CV will look like? It should stand out from the crowd. Okay, so it doesn't need to be the same as 99% of the people who are applying for. So it has to be something special, and it has to draw attention of the employer, the future employer, towards your relevant skills, experiences, achievements, and the potential what you have. Sorry, my slides will be looking a bit cumbersome, but don't worry much about the data on the slides. I will be talking about every point. Okay, so your CV should create an impression on the employer that they will not be able to turn you down for an interview. So if a CV should tell like what you all have. So I mean, a good CV should have all these things. Not, I mean, like you don't need to worry. Like I strongly believe everybody has a potential. Only thing is it has to be shown, and everyone has more skills than they think they do. Normally, so I recently edited around 50 to 60 CVs on Indian Empowerment Network, and there people were giving only professional skills. But I was telling them it's not only professional skills. You also have personal skills. So you should show all these things on your document. And also, like, everybody can write a good CV. So even though if you don't have skills, but you can learn it. Okay. And do's in your CV. So I will tell you a couple of things. So do's and don'ts. So just have these things in your mind whenever you are making CV. So when you are making CVs, use a standard font. So don't go for stylish like Arial black and all these things and make unnecessary highlights and all things. Use a standard font. Try to keep it simple. Be honest. So especially when you're applying for a specialist role, don't fake it. I mean, sometimes you fake it and you get into trouble in the interviews. So don't try to fake it. Keep it honest. And then also include recent and relevant work experience, even though it could be paid or it could be voluntary. So even the voluntary experiences has to go on CVs, because that shows that you would like to work, even if it is, if it is it's all about emotion and motivation. Okay. Be consistent in your layout and style, and also list your skills and achievements, and main thing is back up with evidence. It's very, very important, because if you don't have evidence, you may get caught and not even be called for the interview. Keep it short. So even though I told you can have 16 pages, but don't go more than 2 to 3 pages, because that's kind of, people don't have that much of attention to look into the documents, everything you send. And use positive action verbs such as I organized, I delivered, I accomplished, I achieved. So don't use some kind of other language. Okay. And include a statement about your career aspirations and what you have to offer the employer. So sometimes you need, this is called as objective of the CV. You can use that. Be honest but positive. Okay. When you show negativity, they may turn you down. And then the important thing is check your spelling, check your punctuation, check your grammar and meaning. So if you are not good at it, show your friends. Okay, these things will give the first impression, and it's not going to be a good impression. Yeah, get someone to check it for you. You can ask your friends or some experts. Sometimes if it is a paid thing, just send it and get it verified. So show you are a go-getter, team player, result-oriented and process-oriented person. So these are the do's. And now, which is kind of very, very important when you are applying for jobs, what are the don'ts? So don't do your CV in a rush. Remember, this is you are sculpting your own sculpture, and don't do that in rush, because if you do that in rush, you will mess it up. And if you have any gaps in the employment, try to show it in a creative way, that you got some kind of certification, or you kind of took a sabbatical or something. So don't try to leave the gaps, and don't lie. So as I told in the previous one, be honest. And here I'm telling what are the don'ts. Don't lie. And also don't need to show the irrelevant details such as marital status, children, especially women. If you have children, or if you're married, you don't need to show all these things on your CV, because I mean, at least I'm speaking in Germany perspective. So here these things are considered illegal. Like if people ask you about these things, and you don't even need to show them on your CV. And also, like, don't just write the list of duties that you kind of did in your previous job. Remember, you are selling yourself, and you need to show them in a creative way. And don't use flashy large font, so that it kind of affects the eyes of the person who is seeing it. So don't do that. And the important thing that you need to remember is it's the first impression that you are giving to the employer. So you kind of somehow make it as a marketing brochure, that your document is some kind of really selling you. So make it proper. And there is no proper structure. Like, you don't need to use a structure that your friends have used or anything. So you can make your own structure. Okay. So only thing what I will give today is that some kind of tools and tips and tricks, and also the structure of CV, but you be creative. Okay. Some tips for making a good CV. I normally prefer to use a software called as Adobe InDesign, but you can use just a Word file or any kind of latex or any other kind of software that you are comfortable with. And I like to use a proverb called KISS. It's called keep it stupid simple. So that means you don't need to complicate your CV. You just keep it stupid simple. So it can be simple that everybody can understand. Keep it clear, well organized and logical, concise, relevant and necessary. Remove the junk that the employer doesn't need to know. Complete. I mean, put everything, whatever you need, and don't mix styles and fonts, and also keep it up to date. Okay, these are some tips. And this is kind of very important slide. Maybe you want to take a snapshot of it, just feel free to take it. So what should the structure of CV should look like? So it should start with the contact information. It should have your full name. If you have a salutation like doctor or anything PhD or something, just have it there. It's your full name. A permanent mailing address. So it has to be a permanent one. If you are in India or anywhere else, just put that address. Or if you are in Germany, just put your address where your letters can be reached. Okay. And email address that won't expire. So normally don't use your company ones that you are working with. Try to use your Gmail account or any account. Try to use both, but this is the one you need to have preferred ones. Nationality and visa statuses are very important. I mean, especially when you are applying Germany. So I'm telling more about the Germany context because these things matter a lot when you apply for some things. And then it should be followed by education, and then again honors and awards, and professional experience. So professional experience is mostly about the employment. Okay, and here the voluntary experience, you can also put voluntary experiences. Even if you are not paid, you can put it there. And then publications and presentations, especially for the people who are in academia, who want to show that if they want to apply for the jobs or if they want to apply for the postdocs, you can use that. Extracurricular and voluntary experience, you can put it here. Certificates and licenses, followed by that. And professional affiliations, collaborations, some kind of things it has to follow. Then professional activities, researches, added qualifications, references. So these are the things that the basic structure of a CV should look like. You can also add something more if you have. And how to present your CV. So the first visual impression of your CV is very important. Okay. For normal purposes, people can use A4 format. I mean, you don't need to use A3 or A2 or A5, such kind of things. Don't mess it up. Check for spelling mistakes. So use bullet points and bold font, but in moderation. So don't mess it up. And whenever you format, make it consistent. And normally the preferred font style is 10 to 12. So small is that people can't see, or bigger is unnecessary. And also you will leave there won't be any space. And the preferred font is Arial or Calibri, the sans serif fonts. These are the ones that are preferred. And also focus more on the accomplishments. So what you have achieved. So it has to show more about the results that you have achieved. And whenever you want to apply to any company, target your CV to that job or company, and Arun will talk more about that. And use short and concise sentences, and anytime consider your audience, whom you are sending your CV. Is it to the HR? Is it to the ATS? Or is it to the directly to the manager? So based on that, you can tailor your CV. So I think more or less I'm kind of finishing off with the CV because I need to also cover with the networking. And with the final slide of the CV is that references. When do you need references? Why do you need? Some people cannot use references, but having references is always a good thing for your CV. So it's like somebody is recommending you for this job. If you have good positive responses, get the references. If you are from academia, you need to get one academic response at least, and one could be your manager whom you are working with. And when you use your references, tell your references that you are using their contacts as your reference. And also, when you kind of apply for the job, ask them that you applied them to this job and that they need to send a reference. Sometimes it could be confidential letters. They can also send it to you, and you can apply them directly with the job. Okay, so that's kind of CV thing, and I hope you kind of at least understood a couple of basic elements. If it's not clear, we will check in the question and answers later. Let's jump into very important element in nowadays. It's all about network. So network is your net worth. So previously it's all about money and assets, but right now it's all about the right contacts. So whom you know, how big they are, and I'm not a big master of networking, but I know a couple of elements because the job what I have right now, it's all because of the networking. So I work for the European Union, and how I got this job is because I knew right people. And so I'm going to share a couple of tips and tricks with you. I hope you kind of understand the importance of networking, and also I'll show you a couple of slides how the networking will help you in the jobs. Okay, so I would like to tell you a bit of analogy about networking. So I want to tell a story. So there was a guy who was kind of praying for a cake. So he was kind of waiting for the God. Okay, God, give me a cake and I will wait for you. So he was waiting, waiting, waiting. Cake never came. But the thing is, in front of him, he had all the essential elements for baking a cake. So he had eggs, oil, butter, all the things, even oven. But the thing is, he did not think that he need to use these elements to bake a cake. He was just waiting. He got frustrated. He was waiting and he left. So that's the same analogy that I like to use for the networking. It's like you have all the possible resources wherever you are on the planet. You have LinkedIn, you have online, you have friends. So only thing is you need to mix them and bake your own cake. So that's why I'm kind of want to ask you, what is your cake? So if you are applying for just for a job, so or you are applying for a promotion, or you want something else. So you need to identify what is your cake, what are the ingredients. So if it is just reaching out to 100 people or 1,000 people or a tailor-made CVs, identify what are these ingredients. And also like how badly you want this cake. So how badly you want this job, based on that, you could mix all the ingredients and tailor it. Okay, and so like this is about job market. So when you are applying for jobs, how the networking plays a big role. So imagine this is the whole job market we have, and normally there are only 5 to 15% of the jobs are advertised. Okay, and normally there are something called as unsolicited applications. When you approach employers, it's only 5 to 15%. And whereas agencies like headhunters or consultants is only 10 to 20%. Remaining all 60 to 80% are filled through networking. So when there are jobs, mainly networking plays a role. And 85% of the people apply for advertised positions. So they apply here, 85%, and remaining all 15% will be filled here. So it's very, very important when you apply for jobs that networking is the thing that plays a very big role, because this is the statistics that I took from a publication that it shows like 60%, 60 to 80% of the jobs are filled through networking. And please keep in mind and now focus on the networking, so you will understand how it plays a big role. And I also want to show this slide to you, that the levels of recruitment happens. So normally how the employers recruit is in this way, and the people will look for jobs in the other way. I hope you can see my cursor. Arun, can you see my cursor?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, okay. So the employers are hiring in this direction, and people look for jobs in this direction. When you look, what is it? So it's like the internal promotion. And so this is where many jobs get filled. So the internal people itself will be hired. Or, some like from the existing staff, somebody who knows X person and who is already working in the company, or the word of a mouth. This is where the networking that I talked. And some professional organizations like headhunting agencies, consultancies, recruitment agencies, and finally the advertising boards. You see, so it's like most of the jobs are filled in this way, but people unfortunately look in this way, and most of them are crowded here. So here it is like very, very, very vast, and this is where you need to tap into. And I'll show you a couple of elements that I think are important for the networking. So before applying for any job, kind of understand your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So it's called SWOT analysis. Normally people use this in project management, but you can also use it for your own personal things. So before you kind of apply for something else, identify what are your strengths, identify what are your weaknesses, identify from the place where you live, what are the opportunities and what are the threats you have. So you kind of map it out, who you are and what you are, and based on that, you kind of understand how good you fit to the profile. And one thing is that be fearless. So I'm a biologist, and I know how our brain thinks, that we worry a lot, we fear a lot, we think that we are not good for anything. But I would say this is all evolutionary. Our brain thinks that we are all afraid of something, but in reality we are not really afraid. We just are lazy. And now we need to elevate the game, because the job market is not that kind of open, especially in this COVID crisis, and you need to be fearless. Reach out to people as many as you can, and also elevate your game. And another thing, I kind of just took a proverb from one of the spiritual guru. His name is Swami Sukhabodhananda. He was asked in Australia by a journalist. It's like, what is the biggest fear that people are undergoing or people have? He told that greed to become somebody and fear of becoming nobody. So I hope you understand this proverb. Greed to become somebody and the fear of becoming nobody. So we all are kind of prone to be some kind of in fear stage, and it's because of that we are afraid that we won't be anybody. But we don't need to think like that. We just need to elevate the game, and the whole world will fall apart. Okay. And if you are starting in your career, what I would recommend you is the biggest mantra which I follow, and also I tell my friends, is always say yes. Saying yes means if you have an opportunity to do an internship, say yes. If you have an opportunity to design a flyer, say yes. Even though you do not have skills, say yes first and then figure it out. It's like Richard Branson, who is one of the big shot in the world in business, with the Virgin Airlines and all other things. So his mantra is like, he says yes, and then he will figure out a way how to do it. Okay, I mean, once you kind of become so big, afterwards you need to also learn how to say no. But in the beginning, you need to say yes. You need to be open and say whatever the opportunities, even if it is paid or unpaid, you try to say yes. And always, networking is always thought taking. You go and ask for a job. No, in my view, it's always give. Once you give, slowly you'll start taking it. The more you give, the more you get back. There is a very good book from Adam Grant, Give and Take, and it shows that when you help others, you actually make yourself success. And in the networking, it plays a very big role. So when you help your future employee on something else, so they will immediately pick you out. For example, in my case, I was good in network building. I was building alumni and everything. And in my job, when my job was advertised, they wanted to build a network of mentors all across the Europe. And because I was good at networking and building mentors, building networks, and they immediately hired me. So I was more giving, and then immediately because of my skill set, they hired me. Otherwise, I'm a biologist. I did my PhD on cancer pain, but they took me because of the skill set I have. Otherwise, I was not being hired. So this is what I mean to say when I say give. And sometimes, I want to also stress a bit on this thing. You need to invest on a couple of things, especially when it is with education or when it is with training on soft skills. So if somebody who want to charge to make your CVs, or who want to invite you to a networking event, or some kind of special person who asks for a payment, maybe sometimes you need to pay, because most of the times, for example, we are now hosting this webinar for free. And why we are doing it, it's just our passion, but not many people do that. But even if there is a payment, I would recommend you to go, because the cheap things prove to be expensive at the end. So this is like one of the beautiful proverbs I believe in. And you need to invest sometimes. You need to pay fee. You need to go to events, and then you kind of get to know the market. And some kind of networking tips. So you use your contacts from your experiences, courses, friends. Even, when you go to kindergarten, you take your baby to go to kindergarten or even to supermarket. You never know whom you bump into. Try to talk to them. Don't be silent, because they could help you to help in getting a job. And also use your social networking sites such as LinkedIn, Twitter. I mean, Facebook is not a good way, Facebook or Instagram. But like Twitter or LinkedIn could be a good source for professional networking. And as I said, attend any paid or free events. It could be local or non-local events. Nowadays, it's all online because of COVID crisis. So now we have people from all over the world. Before, it was not possible because we were doing all local events. But right now, COVID crisis has opened up multiple opportunities. We had nearly 1,000 registrations today, 1,000 to 1,100, and you see it's amazing. And there are a lot of possibilities. And when you go to the physical events, always keep your business cards with you. If you don't have it, print them and give it to the people whom you meet. Always keep in touch, write them a personal note whenever you meet people. Immediately write them a personal note next day or the same day, write an email or LinkedIn message that you met them. And also on online, if you are a coder or any kind of person, you try to create content. So content in the sense, if you are good with AI, artificial intelligence, you kind of make some kind of application that you use AI, so that people can see what you are creating rather than just talking. And be proactive. This is a very, very big step or big thing that I propose. So like really be proactive, take initiatives, and once you kind of start doing things, opportunities will open up to you automatically. And online, so I have a couple of tips. You on Twitter or LinkedIn, you try to follow the right people, because there are a lot of bullshitters. I'm sorry to use this word, but there are really a lot of bullshitters. Don't follow them, follow the right people. And in LinkedIn, have an all-star LinkedIn profile. You fill out good profile and also have good keywords, and produce content, as I said before, like write articles, produce codes, make applications, wherever your domain falls. Okay, start producing content. And also like on online media, the algorithms work like when you comment, like, and appreciate. So be proactive and do these things, otherwise your online presence will not be visible. And in the offline networking events, so you kind of find the networking events. You can use Meetup app, you can go to workshops, or you can ask friends like, hey, I would like to go somewhere, some talks. Just attend there, meet people, and you slowly start building your network. And the one more thing I want to say is that you please dress yourself to impress others. So don't go in a junky way, because first impression is the best impression. And sometimes invite people whom you meet for a tea or lunch. Always keep positive attitude when you meet people in the offline events, because nobody likes to talk to miserable people, because misery attracts misery. And if someone is insecure, you try to see positive there, and kind of give positive vibes, and you never know where you are making an impact and how it will come back to you. So whenever you are meeting a person, always try to initiate the contact. Don't wait other person to come and talk to you. So this is how you kind of open up the new dialogue. And also, like, if you know a person already in a networking event, don't try to stay with them. Go to other person and talk, because the person whom you already know them, and you don't really get much of it. Okay, that's all about networking. And my final slide, I want to tell about the Indian Empowerment Network. So I am kind of representing this group today here, and this group is a Facebook group. It's a Facebook group started like 2.5 months back, where to help everybody on the planet, how they are facing this global pandemic crisis. It's a belief system. We believe every person is unique. It's a peer-to-peer mentoring group. We kind of provide platform to express individual talents. It could be personal and professional growth, and it's more a collaboration platform rather than competition platform. So if you want to join, here is a link. I will also provide it later in the chat. So that's all. Thank you very much. And now I switch to Arun. Arun.
Thanks, Manoj, for that amazing presentation. I hope everyone was as excited as I was, because even I learned some interesting tips and tricks of both CV and networking. Great. Yeah, so I would just share my screen now. Jagadeesh, can you please allow me to share? Yeah, okay. Great. So can you see my
screen? Yeah.
Great. Okay, now it's in the presentation mode. Perfect. Okay, so I hope everyone enjoyed that session from Jagadeesh. Very insightful, very useful, very exciting. A lot of interesting things to learn. And yeah, I would just take over from where Jagadeesh was. So I would just briefly tell you about LinkedIn and interview skills. And I basically am the founder for the Careers Development Group, CDG, and this is primarily focused on all the professionals and students who want to create an international career, especially in Germany, since I'm actually based out of Berlin. To start off with, I'll give a brief introduction about myself. So I am actually a finance professional who has been working since 2007. I have been living in Germany, now in Berlin since 2014. And a couple of my professional highlights are that I raised 6.6 million for 2 startups in Berlin. So this, I think, personally was my professional achievement, one of the best at that time. And I was able to actually get jobs, 2 jobs in Germany without any interview. And listening to Jagadeesh, now I understand how I was, without knowing, actually doing networking. I was helping people, I was giving. And this is where it actually came back as a good karma for me. And I was able to get 2 jobs. The last one I had was, I was actually helping a friend in her company, and I got a call from the CEO that he wanted to talk to me and was interested to see if I wanted to join their company. So this is how basically networking works. And just to give you a brief snapshot, so I have worked for like some of these companies, some you might be familiar with. I have previously worked in India and Singapore before I settled into Germany. Now, after that amazing presentation, what I would like to move into is specifically focusing on LinkedIn. Personally, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. It is by far the best professional social networking platform that is out there. There is literally nothing close to it. And what I want to go a bit deeper into is how you can actually use and understand LinkedIn. So first and foremost, there is a slide that I definitely want to call out on, which is about the importance of LinkedIn. Why it is important is because there is absolutely no other professional networking platform which comes even close to LinkedIn. So those of you who are based in Germany, whether Germans or internationals like us, they know that there is a German specific or a German speaking platform, which is called Xing, which is similar to LinkedIn, but it is more relevant and more useful in the German speaking region of Europe, which is Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And this is something which comes close, but on a global level, there is nothing comparable to LinkedIn. This is actually a platform which you need for your professional brand building. As Jagadeesh mentioned in his presentation, that it is all about marketing yourself. It is all about showcasing the value you bring, the skills you bring, what is it that you actually can do for others. And this is the platform, which is LinkedIn, that you can showcase everything that you have. The reason I like this platform the best is it can give you easy access to the right people. For example, I was working with Amazon, and in Amazon, you cannot, unless you are in one of the direct reports of the top management, it's very difficult to actually go and talk to the decision makers, the top management, CXO level management in any company. This is exactly the opposite on LinkedIn. You can contact the CEO of the company, you can contact the decision makers in the companies. Even sometimes I think there are people who are prime ministers and presidents of the countries who are on LinkedIn. So you can at least follow them. You can see how they behave, what are they posting. And I have personally actually contacted some really senior decision makers, and they usually come back. If you are professional, you know how to approach them, you know how to actually draft your message, how to be professional and patient. This is the best way to actually reach those decision makers. And especially with the current situation where everything is now happening virtually, this platform becomes even more critical because everyone is now using this platform for any professional targets, aspirations that they have. Also, there are professional communities. For example, I'm a finance professional, so I would have connections with the mostly finance professionals on LinkedIn. People who are from AI, people who are from automotive industry, they can connect with like-minded professionals. And what you actually get to see is how an international community of your professionals are behaving. What are they talking about? What are the trends in the market? What are the things you need to focus on? So I'll actually, since we are all three of our speakers are based out of Germany, and I think one of the easiest things to identify about Germany is the cars. So I would just take the example of the automotive industry. So if you are an automotive professional and you are located, let's say in US or China or India, wherever, you know that there are a lot of developments now which are happening in the automotive industry where there is a huge transition happening. So if you're a part of one of these professional communities, then you get to understand how autonomous driving is affecting the industry, how the big giants like BMW, Mercedes, Audi, they need to adapt, how they need to move into more electric vehicles, more like environmental friendly vehicles. And this is something you need to be updated on simply because of your knowledge, simply because of your profile. And this is something which is possible mostly on LinkedIn. There might be some groups on Facebook or some other social media channels, but personally, I think LinkedIn is the most serious and the most professional ones. Of course, when you do all of these, then what LinkedIn provides you is a gateway to opportunities. And these opportunities can range from partnership to freelancing to volunteering to actual employment to job offers. It can it can be beyond, it can be much bigger than just a job search. There is a huge amount of potential. It's just dependent on what is the value, what is the kind of positioning you have about yourself. And I would again reiterate this point that when you are in the market as a professional, it is about marketing yourself, presenting the value you bring, and then aiming for whatever your aspiration is as a professional. Yeah, this is one thing you will see probably on almost all the slides. So one useful fact that I always try to cover, some people who I saw, some of the people who have attended my earlier webinars, the time that you have to spend on LinkedIn has to be greater than all the social media platforms put together. Unless, of course, you use Instagram as an influencer or a travel blogger or something and you're earning money out of it, then it's a different thing. But as a user, you need to be more of a user of LinkedIn compared to all the other social media platforms put together. Other than that, they are just a waste of time. And you need to be professionally aware where to spend your time. So coming to the positioning part, I would just take my my own LinkedIn profile as an example. I can assure you that this is not the best out there. A lot of people have a lot of better, but just for privacy reasons and just to, I can make jokes on myself. So that's easy for me to do it with my own profile rather than with someone else's profile. The first thing I need to tell you is that you have to have a very clear and concise and a precise title. Just imagine that when the internal recruiters from the company, as Jagadeesh showed, that most of the recruiters are looking themselves for candidates. They are scouting through LinkedIn. And this is the snapshot that you'll see on the right. This one is actually the first impression that they have about you. So this is something similar to them seeing you face to face for the first time at an event. And what they look for is what is the information they can get in the shortest amount of time. So if you look at my profile now, so I have transitioned from a finance role to being a career mentor and guiding people, both students and professionals, on their career journey. I mentioned that out very clearly, and I don't say it, I would do it for the globe. I know the German market. I have worked in the German market. I have a network in the German market. So I can help you as a mentor, primarily in the German market. I also have a network across the globe. So that is a different thing. But if someone is looking for this kind of a service, they know it immediately on my profile. What do I do? The second thing is domain. So domain means that I am, from a career perspective, relevant to the person who lands on my profile. If someone is looking for a finance professional now, or someone is looking for a technical role or a technical person, then I'm definitely not the person. So it saves both him and me the time to not proceed further. It's basically in the interest of both of us to have a very clear perspective about each other's capabilities. Third, you would see on my profile that I have a lot of X. So I have worked for Flipkart in India, I have worked for Amazon in Germany, Zalando in Germany. So the reason why this is critical is the first thing you need to do is build trust. A lot of people, so on LinkedIn, on a daily basis, I get between 25 to 50 requests for new connections. I get almost the same amount of messages on my private message in LinkedIn. So why would those people want to connect with me? Why would those people want to connect with you? Because they see that I have worked for brands and they identify those brands with a certain level of trust, with a certain level of respect. So if I don't know you, then the first trigger for the communication has to be something common. So either you want to work for Flipkart or Amazon or Zalando, or you want to do fundraising, which I have done. So that is how we connect, and that is how we build up trust amongst each other. Especially for students, obviously the educational qualifications are important. So there is a lack of organizations, there is a lack of experience. In that case, what makes sense is to either put your qualifications, put the name of your the branch of your college or the university, and this is where the conversation starts to happen. So if the recruiters know that an X college in Germany is really good, and you have X college prominently written on just under your name, if you can see my cursor, then it kind of clicks, and it's a very easy decision making in the mind of the recruiter. Okay, this guy is from college X, so I need to connect with them, and then we can take the conversation forward. Pictures. Now, I know that my profile picture is probably not one of the best. A lot of people have much better pictures in proper business suits and very professional. So that's a personal decision you can take. The background picture is something which I think is very relevant. If you notice, when Jagdish showed his LinkedIn profile photograph, he showed basically in the background what he does. I want to showcase that I am a career mentor. So I have taken workshops, I can do coaching, I can guide students. And that's why I want to show a picture which actually communicates that. And I think most of us are familiar with this saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So the impact a picture makes is much bigger than what the words can make. So this automatically creates an impression in the mind. So for example, if you're from an automotive industry, you can put a picture of Tesla or some new technology or a blueprint or a wireframe of a car model. And this kind of communicates that you are passionate about this particular domain. So it's a very easy and quick decision making. Keep in mind that we as humans are very visual people. So Jagdish mentioned, please dress to impress. The reason for that is because we judge people, we judge others based on visual cues. So if a person is looking good, profile is looking good, that's a thumbs up. Again, bottom line, your professional first impressions, whether in a offline physical environment or whether in a professional working environment or on an online environment, is critical. So you have to make sure that you make the best of the tools and the means which are given to you. Some of the other aspects is about section and the featured section. The about section, the first thing I want to mention out there is it is about you. So first and foremost, you have to talk about yourself. And no one can tell your story professionally better than you. You know what you have been through. You have been through challenges, you have worked out the solutions, you have taken learnings, you have learned new skills. And these are the things that you need to be able to tell. And a lot of the times what I see in a lot of LinkedIn profiles is people talk about their companies, they talk about everything else except themselves. And this is not the right thing, because you need to market yourself. About section is telling about yourself. The other thing, and this is a personal thing, I see is a lot of people writing in third person. So if I'm writing about myself, I say Arun worked in India, Arun worked for Amazon, Arun worked for, now is based in Germany. Personally, I think it kind of creates a disconnect between you and your about section. Because if I'm coming to your profile and I'm reading about you, and I'm always reading in third person, Arun has been in India, Arun has been in Amazon, Arun is in Germany, I feel that I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to someone else who's telling me about you. And this is something you need to make sure. So personally, I feel a better connect when someone sends me a request and I go to their LinkedIn profile and check out their about section. And they say, I have done this, I have faced these challenges, I learned these skills. And this is something which actually excites me because I feel that the person is talking to me, not someone else. Coming to the featured section. So this, I personally would recommend that you have to create content. So Jagdish briefly mentioned and touched upon creating content. This is where you have to show your passion. This is where you have to show your subject matter knowledge. This is the area where you showcase your interest. You have to read a lot. You have to know your industry, especially even as a student. You need to know what domain you are into. And then what is your take? What is your opinion on those domains? Just write articles on LinkedIn. It's a very easy way to do it. And just see what is the kind of response you get. The key thing is, Jagdish mentioned ATS. So ATS, people usually think in terms of application tracking system, which is used by companies to shortlist CVs, and they make their CVs based on that. What most of the candidates don't realize is that the LinkedIn works exactly the same way. In LinkedIn, when you're writing about yourself, you will obviously talk about your skills, your technology, your domain. And these are the key words which are used by the recruiters or the hiring managers when they're scanning the profiles on LinkedIn to zero in on those profiles. And if you have these, then it means two things. First, you get ranked higher when someone is looking for you on LinkedIn. Second thing, you actually showcase a much better impression. So if I have finance and I just say finance, you say worked in finance, worked in fundraising, prepared business plans, prepared financial plans, prepared liquidity statements, then obviously your profile compared to mine looks much better. I'm a lazy guy for the recruiter who did not even put the effort in my own LinkedIn profile. You, on the other hand, took the pain, you took the effort, you took the time to showcase the skills that you have. And that's why you rank higher than my profile when a recruiter or a hiring manager is looking for you. This is something you need to keep in mind. And this is where this section becomes really critical, really important. Moving on to the useful fact, you have these three, the top section of the LinkedIn profile, about and featured, as your domain to market yourself. Show the people who are visiting your LinkedIn profile what you can offer, how much depth you have in your understanding, in your knowledge. And this is all anyone is looking for. Because if you are just stand out on your LinkedIn profile, the impression I would get is, wow, if this guy puts so much effort on a LinkedIn profile, which may or may not get them a job, how much effort would this person put when they actually get a job? So this is someone who is interesting for me. This is someone I want to talk to. This is someone who excites me. So I want to get to know them better. And this just exponentially increases your scope of getting a job through LinkedIn. The other tool which I'm actually very passionate about on LinkedIn is the search function. So I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it. I thought this would be nice to put in this presentation today. So what you do is when you go to your home profile or your profile and you go to the home section of your LinkedIn profile, you would see this small option to search, and then you see a small magnifying glass in front of it. And when you click on this, what you would get is some default options like people, connections, location, and current companies, and then a small option of all filters. And this is something which is amazing. The moment you click that, what you get is like a very, very comprehensive and a very targeted result. So this is something you can customize for yourself. For example, I'm not sure if you can see it. So for example, if I'm looking for someone in Germany who's working for Google or Amazon, and they are working in a marketing and advertising industry, which is basically marketing profile, then I just select these three, click apply, and LinkedIn will actually give me the list of all those professionals based on my parameters that I have selected. Now, because of lack of space, I could not show you the snapshot below, but in the snapshot below, you can actually put some keywords. And these keywords you can put, for example, I want to target someone who's a finance manager in Amazon and Google. So you put finance manager, and all the profiles that you will get would be finance managers or someone who's related to finance in some way for these two companies in this country. So this is something that you need to start exploring, start connecting with people. And as Jagadeesh mentioned, just reach out to people, contact people, just network, just say yes to everything that you are trying to do and to achieve the career goals that you have. Now, other option which is pretty nice on LinkedIn is, and I personally use this a lot, is I do a lot of posts. I don't do posts on a daily basis. I kind of do it like once in 2 days or once in 3 days, depending on the content that I get. So of course, I need to read a lot. And this is something which is like your personal online diary for the professional interest that you have. And what you need to make sure is that you are creating the content. So do not share other people's content, because this is just you are borrowing someone else's knowledge and showcasing it on your own profile. So this is not something which generates a lot of interest, and it does not generate a lot of traction. Of course, there are sometimes really good posts which you can share for the benefit of yourself, for the benefit of people in your network. Definitely do that. But from a professional perspective, make sure you want to market yourself. You want to showcase your skills. And that's why this is important. What you also need to do is make sure that you post consistently. Now, at the end of the day, whether it be it LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram, or whatever other social media channels, they work on algorithms. And the algorithms reward those people, those professionals who are consistently creating some content. And personally, I feel that creating content on LinkedIn is much easier, much more rewarding than creating that same content on Facebook or Instagram, because LinkedIn actually is still a very immature algorithm. So what I highlighted here at the bottom, I'm not sure if you can see it, this post that I created reached about 15,500 people. And this is what I always look for, because these are the people who are the real strength of LinkedIn. If you do the same thing on Facebook or Instagram, you have to be a very, very good, like you have to have a lot of following, you have to have a lot of traction to even reach these number of people organically. You can always pay them and reach a lot more. But this is something which is almost impossible to do when you do it in Facebook or Instagram. So instead of spending time there, if you use the time on LinkedIn, that will generate exponentially a lot more returns for you compared to any other social media channel. Other trick is to make sure that when you post something like this, you don't post any external links. So for example, if you are sharing something which you saw on Medium or New York Times, do not post that link in the post itself, because what LinkedIn or any other social media doesn't like is you are taking people away from LinkedIn to some other website. They want you to keep people on LinkedIn, keep people engaged on LinkedIn. So what you have to do is make sure you don't put it in the post itself, but actually you put the link in the comment section just below your post. So this makes sure that LinkedIn promotes your post, but at the same time, people, if they're interested, if they want to see the source of your article or source of your analysis, they can click on that link and they can go there. But most of the people would stick on LinkedIn when you do that. When to post is also critical, because you want your post to reach as many people. So LinkedIn has, I think, about more than 500 million members. And if you make a post and it reaches 100, 200 people, then the impact is minimum. So you have to make sure sometimes it's ideal for morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes in the evening. This is a learning process. So once you start posting consistently, you will know when you get the best response and when is the best time for you to post. Obviously, like everything else today, you have to do the analytics. So make sure that you are always looking at the numbers of how much people it is reaching. You can also see what is the kind of profile that the people are looking at your post, what is the kind of companies people are coming from who are looking at your post, and you can also see the cities from where people are coming from. So obviously, if you're a student in Germany and you want to get a job in Germany, when you post something, it would be interesting for you to see that most of the readers of your post are actually coming from Berlin or Heidelberg or Munich or Frankfurt rather than from US, because then it's a mismatch of where your aspirations are and where you're going. At the bottom line, you have to make sure that you have a high quality content so that your professional network is actually interested in whatever you post. This is eventually what your goal has to be. Now, coming to the job search, what I discussed till now was actually the background and the groundwork that you have to do to make sure that LinkedIn picks up your profile. Remember the search that I talked about? This is critical because the algorithms will show the results based on first of all, the relevance, which you have to create with your about section, with your featured section, with your posts. Secondly, of how engaged you are with the platform. And I just gave a snapshot. I don't know how much other people get it, but over a certain period of time, about 4,400 people have actually seen my profile. So I don't know who has seen it, but I think that's a good number to have, simply because the more people who see it, the more I have a probability of getting an offer or a freelancer choice or something from people who visit my profile. So what you have to make sure is you have to build your personal brand on LinkedIn. You have to showcase yourself as a subject matter expert. You have to make sure that you showcase value when you are actually delivering something, when you're writing something, when you're creating content. You have to obviously be consistent. And this is when LinkedIn will start to promote you. So anything you post, LinkedIn algorithm knows that you write something which is interesting, which is relevant for a certain domain of automotive professionals or finance professionals. And this is when LinkedIn algorithm will actually start to promote you throughout your audience or throughout their own networks. And trust me, the power of LinkedIn is still way beyond what Facebook or Instagram can offer organically without spending a single euro. Just spending your time, effort, and energy. Just make sure that you make the best of this amazing tool. My personal suggestion is always to make sure that you look for LinkedIn for mentors, and the jobs will follow. I just told you very honestly that listening to Jagadeesh, I learned a lot of things which I didn't even know. And this is something which you have to keep in mind your learning process is not only till the time you are a student. The learning process always continues, especially in today's world. So make sure you have mentors that you can follow who are quality mentors, who give a lot of value, and who can actually groom you to avoid the mistakes which that mentor would have made themselves. So this is what a value of the mentor is always. This actually brings me to the end of the LinkedIn section, and I want to jump into the interviews, which I think I personally find a lot more exciting. So the reason I put this picture on interviews is this is how we all want to look on the day of the interviews. And what actually happens inside, we look something like this. I don't know how many of you feel the same way or you understand what I'm saying. As a candidate, as a hiring manager, I have seen both the sides. As a candidate, I looked like this person on the outside, calm, cool, composed. On the inside, I was going crazy. So interesting fact about me was when I came to Germany, I was unemployed for 6 months because I was in Heidelberg, a small student city. I was a finance professional, no jobs there. I did not know the German language, another problem. So whenever I had an interview, I was always like almost excited, too much excited inside, which also made me nervous and made me like critical of myself. But obviously in an interview, you have to be professional. So what happens with most of us on the interview day? The day is here. We are all ready. Obviously, we brushed up our technical skill sets. We brushed up our knowledge, our projects, our challenges, answers to typical interview questions. We are obviously well dressed. Of course, you want to make sure whether it's a virtual interview like today, these days, or whether it's a personal offline interview, you always have to be well dressed professionally. You reach on time. Generally, these days, you switch on the internet conversation on time, hopefully. But most of the people struggle with confidence. And this is one thing I want to kind of focus all my discussion today about interviews on, simply because confidence is as crucial as everything else in your interview. If you are invited to an interview, that means you have the technical knowledge, you have the technical skill sets, people believe you to a certain extent, and they are inviting you to know you better, to see how you actually would be in the company, in the role. But if you're not able to communicate yourself, if you're not able to market yourself, if you're not able to tell about your qualities, about your skills, about the value you bring, then it basically just absolutely means nothing. If you are from a school of thought that having superior skills will get you a job, unfortunately, in today's world, that is not true. You need to be equally as good at soft skills as you need to be at your technical skills to have a holistic personality for the recruiters to like you. And that is, at the end of the day, the only goal of the interview, to make recruiters, to make the interview panel like you. To build up your confidence, there are certain things that I would suggest you should always keep in mind. Interviews are your stage. So just think, when you are invited for an interview, that means you have basically beaten thousands or even 10,000s of applications to reach that stage. So there is a value. You can always improve your CV based on what Jagadeesh mentioned in his presentation. So you have basically passed the first barrier. Now you are in the spotlight, you are in the center stage, you are on a stage, and this is where you need to deliver. You have made it to this point simply because you have value. Otherwise, trust me, no one will spend time anywhere. It doesn't matter. So a simple example of this is, a lot of you are here today because you think you will get some value, and hopefully we will deliver some value for you at the end of this session. If you did not see any value, you would not have been there. You would not take the time, the effort on a Sunday, especially in Germany, to actually attend a webinar like this. So it has to be about value, which you already have. The panel is spending time with you. They are taking 1 hour, 30 minutes, 45 minutes out of their busy day. And the more senior the panel, the more busy their day is on a daily working basis. They're taking the time to actually talk and interact with you. And this is something you need to see as a huge positive, as a huge vote of confidence that they really want to like you. Now, if you have to take away one thing from my part of the presentation today, Make sure you remember this. Throughout the interview session or throughout the interview process, the HR, the interview panel, the hiring manager, the team, if you meet the team as a part of your hiring process, all of them are just trying to answer one single question. Are you a good fit? And this does not span only your technical skills. It spans your personality, your communication, your how you come across as a person, how trustworthy you are. Can the team depend on you? Can the hiring manager depend on you? This is the one answer that all of them are trying to figure out. Are you a good fit? And this is why confidence becomes important, because if you're not able to present yourself in the best possible way, then if you cannot convince yourself, then you cannot convince others about it. And then it becomes difficult for them to say, yes, you're a good fit. Keep this one sentence in mind whenever you're going for an interview. And you can actually drive the interview. So this is something I would go a bit deeper in the next slide, but you can easily own your own interview. Market yourself with absolute confidence. You are there because they see some value in you, and that's the reason they invited you. Now, how do you own your own interview? You can easily control your interview simply because the end of every answer, if you can give them the right clues, this is where the interviewers will pick up the next question. So if you're smart enough, if you're prepared enough, and especially if you're confident enough, you can drop small hints at the end of your answer from where the interviewer will actually pick up the question that you want them to pick up. And since you're driving the interview, then you basically already know the answer to the question that they're going to ask. Keep in mind that the interviewers are going through probably 5 other candidates, including you, asking the same questions, getting the same answers, and it gets boring. Honestly, it gets really boring as a hiring manager to keep asking the same questions, to keep getting the same answers. So it's really boring. This makes it even more easier for you to actually own your own interview, drive your own interview, and make it more interesting for them. Make sure that every answer you give them actually is like a light bulb in their mind, and they remember you. You stand out from the rest of the crowd. How do you do that? Is you have to make sure that you research the company. Obviously, you cannot go in an interview, try to drive it without being prepared about it. And when I say being prepared, I do not mean the technical skill set. I'm assuming that you are called to an interview, you have the right technical skill sets and you are knowledgeable and you can talk about them. That's a given. So for example, if you are a candidate who's an engineering candidate coming to an automotive interview in the automotive industry, and I ask you a question, you give me an answer, but at the end of the answer, you tell me, okay, I have a question, but which I would want to kind of just get your thoughts on. I read that Tesla is coming to Berlin or Germany. How do you think the traditional German automotive companies will get impacted, or how they need to adapt? And this is something which, if you are going for an interview in the automotive industry, this would be the top of the mind concern for every traditional company. And you just triggered something which is very close to their heart on a daily working basis. And this would create a connect which no other candidate can create, simply because it showed that you did not come prepared only with your technical skills. You came prepared with a much wider understanding of the business, of the industry, compared to other candidates. And this is immediately going to give you a huge edge in your whole interview process. And this is what you need to keep in mind. Obviously, you need to be able to ask bold questions. You need to be confident. You need to be professional. Don't come across as rude or aggressive. Just ask questions simply from a point of view of getting knowledge, just because of natural curiosity. Obviously, you would have practiced those, but you have to show that you are naturally interested to know more. You want to get these answers simply because you are super interested in the industry. And this will leave a mark. One thing as a hiring manager, what I would highly recommend and suggest to everyone who's here is make sure that you do not act desperate. No matter what's going on in your personal life, no matter what's going on in your from a professional point of view, please do not act desperate, and Jagdish also touched upon this briefly, is misery begets misery. The moment you become desperate, you leave you lose the leverage that you have. You just don't stand out. And this is absolutely the one aim of it. And to give you a very simple example, which happened very recently, is it's not just you who, as an interview candidate, gets into tough situations when giving interview. I don't know how many of you actually read this. So this is Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada. And recently he was asked during a press conference what he thinks about the developments which are happening in their neighbor country, US. And he took a 21-second pause. You can actually go to Google, you can go to YouTube, you can actually see how he responds. Anyone can interpret it any which ways, which is totally fine based on their understanding and perspective. But as Justin Trudeau, he took the time to think, to frame the answer, and then give the answer that he was most comfortable with. So he did not allow the reporters to actually bully him or to rush him into something. He actually took control, he took the leverage, and gave the answer which he thought in his mind, in his position, makes the best sense for the people to hear from him as a leader. And this is what it is all about. You have to keep the leverage in your own hands. Coming to the last slide, and I would just, in the interest of time, rush through a bit. Make sure that you have a point of view, you have an opinion. Do not be flaky. It might be just a trick from the panel to see how easy it is to kind of make you frustrated. Because if you don't have a strong personality in work, if you face challenges, people want you to take a stand. People want you to actually have some backbone. So make sure that you don't act as flaky, or you don't come across and you agree with everything that the interviewer says. Show your point of opinion respectfully, professionally, but show it. Obviously, be clear and crisp when you're giving answers. Being nervous is okay. So it's not a situation that you don't have to be nervous at all. It is okay to be nervous. To reduce that, what personally I find very interesting is if you are chewing a gum, it actually reduces your nervousness, because I think the chewing function actually reduces or triggers some reaction in your brain, which kind of reduces your nervousness. Speak up if you have a question or a comment and it doesn't make sense to you. So ask for clarifications. Don't assume what the interviewer is asking and then go off and give a wrong answer. And then the interviewer says after your 4-minute answer, oh no, but I meant the question in this way. And then you have to repeat the answer in a different way all over again. And mistakes will happen. So as a human, trust me, the people who are interviewing you also do mistakes. We also do mistakes. You will also do mistakes. It's not the end of the world. Accept it, own it, and move on. Learn from those mistakes rather than letting it spoil the whole interview that you are having. Forget the mistake, learn from it, and then move on. And one thing personally I would recommend is, if you don't know something, just say, I don't know. Don't try to lie. Don't try to act smart. Don't try to manipulate. People on the other side of the table are smart enough. They are professionals, super experienced. They will see through it. You do not stand a chance. So it's much more acceptable to say, I don't know, if you don't know. That's it. Just leave it there. And with this, I would just close it. I'm more than happy to connect with any one of you who's already not connected with me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can send me an email on CDG. This is the email address and this is the website. And with this, I would hand it over to Manoj, our next speaker. And yeah, drop me questions whenever you have one. Manoj?
Hi, Arun. Can I share the content?
Yeah, sure. I stopped sharing.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thanks for the talk.
Pleasure.
Okay, I'm going to share. Can you all see the slide?
I think it's coming up.
Okay.
We just see a black screen right now.
Okay. It will come.
think it has to come from Germany to all over the world. So it takes time, right?
True, true. Okay, I'm putting it again.
Okay.
Let me check.
In the meantime, how are you all feeling? Maybe just send a thumbs up in the chat. Or amazing, something like that. Great, great, great.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, Manoj, we see your slides now.
Perfect. I can see that there is a lot of enthusiasm among the participants. Hello, everyone. My name is Manoj Nimbalkar, and thank you for participating in this webinar. So let's switch the gear. We have seen how to make CVs, how to do the networking, and what is the importance of the LinkedIn, how to prepare for interviews, and so on. Now we all wonder, what if we want to do something our own? Like, what are the basic entrepreneur skills and how to really bring our ideas to the product, to the market? Now, before we go ahead, by training, I'm a scientist. By profession, I'm an entrepreneur, and by passion, I'm a coach and mentor to the startup. Currently, I'm associated with various incubators such as Unternehmertum, Campus Founders, and EIT Health and EIT Food. So this is my journey as an entrepreneur. I started at point zero, and I went around and around and make a lot of circles, and this is how it is still continuing. So how many of you basically have an idea? Just write a smiley face in your chat. You have 15 seconds. Yes, I can see many of you. Exactly. Perfect. So all of us have an idea. We have a vision about it, and does not matter how big or how small it is. And you want to build it fast and you want to build it big, isn't it? So the big question we can ask ourselves is, how do you do that? How to bring your ideas to reality? How to make your vision a reality, basically. So what are the potential challenges we could face to build that? And what kind of things we needed to make it come true? Of course, apart from money, what other skill set or resources and important factor do we need, or do we need to consider? So most important part is not about money, it's about you and your time and your team. Of course, money comes much later in the process. So let's go through the top 20 reasons. I will not go through the top 20 reasons, but I will just point out top 3 reasons why any startup or any project fails. First of all is the no market need. Then we ran out of cash, and the right team. There is no right team. So how to increase the rate of success? How to make our project a successful? Of course, we do not know how, as we start our journey, we do not know if we'll get the success, 100% success or 80% success or any success. But what we can do is we can minimize the risk. We can mitigate that risk as we go ahead and we start our entrepreneurial journey. Now, before even we start, we need to check if your idea basically has a desirability. Do your customer or user need it? Can we build it? Is there a feasibility? Basically, can we really make it happen? And how is the business looks like? How is the viability? And that point here is the innovation. Something is the need in the market, and then we can really follow it. So focus on the problem. Idea is important, but the problem is more important. After all, people wants to make sure you can solve their problem. They do not buy your solution just because you have an amazing idea, because they buy it because it can solve their problem. Just like a drill, people wants to have a 1/4-inch hole, and that's the reason why they want to buy the 1/4-inch drill, isn't it? So for the beginner's mindset, we have to have very open mind. Like we should not judge. We have to question everything. Be curious about every single thing around you, about the project, about the idea, about even the people you are involving in your project. You have to find a pattern, and you have to think out of the box, think upside down. So let's go through the design thinking process. Well, design thinking process is all about transforming the difficult challenges into an opportunity using the design thinking process. So there are, as you can see, there are various parts like empathy, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Now, what we can do is in empathy, basically you have to connect with your customer. You have to design a product based considering your user in mind, your customer in mind. Now, when you define, synthesize your understanding of users, come up with an actionable problem statement. It's not all about idea, but the problem, what problem they are going through at the moment. Once you have done that, you can do the ideation to explore a wide solution space, both a large quantity of the idea or diversity among those ideas. Once you have done that, you can start making a prototype. Well, prototype is not something you start building up your product itself, but you can use any kind of, you want pen and paper basically, or simple chartboard is also a prototype. So prototype are most successful when people experience and interact with them. It doesn't need to be a like the functional product. It can be something with which they get your idea or the solution through. So this drives the deeper empathy and shape a successful solution. And the final is to test. The testing is the chance to get the feedback on your solution and refine them to make them a better product. And this is a process. And of course, once this process is complete, from empathy, like connecting with your users, up to the test, and you can again start. Of course, there are inter cycles like empathy to define to ideate, ideate to prototype, and prototype to test. So there are a lot of cycles you can go on. The important part here is to remember is that you have to make it happen very fast. The startup has very few resources. You have less number of people to work with you. So important here is that you make this process as fast as possible. So once we have this design thinking processes, we have to follow certain principles. So for example, the principles of which should be focused on human, like it should be human-centered. It basically allows you to see if your idea is really worth for this user or the customer. Go out and talk to your users or potential customers. Talk to them, ask them what kind of problem they are going through. Is this how they are currently living their life, for example. Once you have come to the point where, yes, my idea is really create the value for this human or the users, basically, then you can notify that and document and go to the next steps. But the next step is that once you have the problem statement, you go and talk to those people. Talk to them loudly. Hey, we think that there is a problem X, Y, Z. Validate that. Validate that in a way that they can really tell you, no, we do not have this problem, or we basically think that this is not the important for them. You have to focus on those users or customer who can really validate those problem statement. Of course, in this case, you have to be careful that you do not do the surveys, but you do the interviews. Ask the open-ended question. So the surveys are like in the form of yes and no answer, but the open-ended question is all about basically that, hey, we think there is, what do you think of this and that? I can give an example that I go to the supermarket and I ask them, okay, what kind of food do you buy? And they will start talking about it. But if I tell them, do you like organic food or non-organic food? And they will definitely say yes and no, or simply say organic and non-organic. Once this process is done, you can always come back in a team and have a collaborative work. a collaborative work or teamwork is very important for any entrepreneur or the startups. Always make sure that you have a balanced team, a team which can compensate for each other's skill sets, or also have the open mind basically. So you can go ahead and talk to your team, and your team can divide that work and go out and do the work as fast as possible. Such kind of thing is like, once you have the problem statement, the problem is defined, and then you can start building a solution. The solution is where the prototyping starts. Once you have the prototyping, what you can do is you can make a mock-up basically. And in this mock-up, you can go even with the paper. You just like take the paper and you can tell them and show that, hey, I have basically this kind of solution for this problem, and get the feedback. Get the feedback as much as possible. For example, not at 1 or 2, but get like 20, 30, 100 of them, and then analyze that feedback from the users. Do not define or do not start developing anything which user doesn't need. Once you have this prototype feedback from the users, then you can start constructing a solution. So basically defining what kind of solution you will start making or start constructing. That is what you come to the minimum viable product. A minimum viable product is the product where you can define or build one or two features with which you can just go out in the market and start selling, or the customer or the user will buy your product. So this minimal viable product is once you have defined and developed, you can go into the market and start giving and getting a feedback. So this basically is the loop here. So you start with the ideation, you go with the problem statement, and you define your problem. Once your problem is here, you can start making your solution and prototyping, and then come to the point where you basically start making developing your MVP. I'm just reading the chat. Isn't providing the possible solution giving order. So the important part here is the idea is there are many ideas, but important is like, is this idea really create the value for your customers? And that is the reason why we had to follow these design thinking processes and principles. So once you know that what you are going to solve and what you are going to build, it makes the process very lean and very fast. And that's how you can reach your market as fast enough. Well, this is basically all about the entrepreneur's skill set. I have been talking very fast in this case because the design thinking process and design thinking principles could be like 2 weeks of whole project, and you need to go through all the process one by one. So what we are planning is, in this case, is that we are also organizing a hackathon where we take you through like how your idea to a problem statement and to your solution. Also, basically, that will allow you to really think if this idea is worth following. Important part in any entrepreneur journey is you, not even money, is you and your time, because you are investing your time, you are investing yourself. You are trying to create a team which is really lean and very fast. And last but not least is your own investment from the monetization, like the money. And that will basically, once you are convinced that no, this idea is validated by the customers or the users, then you can go and start building upon it. So what we are doing is on June 26th to 28th, we are organizing a hackathon where we will be taking you through this journey of design thinking. And we are more focused on basically a health and well-being. So that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Manoj. I know it's a very short lecture for you. Normally you can do this in 6 months or 1 year, the design thinking one, but with the limited time what we have, I think we should somehow, let's say, wind up for that. Cool. I think it's a time for people to ask questions in the chat. So I don't think we will be able to go through all the questions, but we will be going through at least a couple of things. So please go to the chat and kind of put your questions there, and then we will try to answer some questions. So I'm gonna just okay. So okay. So now question from Rahul Gupta: should my resume or CV be in German? I would go with Arun maybe. Arun, maybe do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, sure. Rahul, that is actually a very common question. So it's not just you who's asking that. And my personal recommendation would be to put it in English, unless you are a very fluent speaker in German. Because what would happen is when your CV is scanned and it is shortlisted, the first contact that you would have from the company itself would be in German, because they would assume that you are fluent in German because your CV was in German. So unless you are fluent in German and you're comfortable conversing in it, my suggestion would be to go with English, because otherwise it might create a situation which is awkward for them and for you, because they might like your profile, everything works fine, but the job might actually need German fluency. So that would create a very weird and awkward situation.
Arun, can you elaborate a bit more about German, because there are many questions around it? And can you maybe take like 2 minutes and tell like the relevance with the job market, German living and everything?
Sure. Okay. See, the thing is that a lot of the German companies, in my experience, focus primarily on the German-speaking market. So it might be possible that although the role might be technical, it might actually involve daily discussions, client meetings, and even discussions with the management in German, because everyone around you is speaking in German. Now, a simple example I can give you is I talked to someone who came to Germany on a job seeker visa. This guy actually got a job because he was in an IT profile, and he was into IT consulting, very senior guy, about 9 to 10 years of experience already. When he joined the company, he realized that he actually is supposed to sit in client meetings, and the client is actually a German client. Now, what happened was he obviously was learning German, but it was nowhere close to being a fluent German speaker. So what happened is that he needed to have someone from his team to sit in on the meetings and try to converse or almost act like a translator. Now, what happened is that the management started to see this, and the client obviously was not happy with it, because they had to speak to the junior. The junior would translate. The Indian guy would actually then give the answer, and the junior guy would translate that into German. And this is not what the client would expect when you are paying for some service. And this is why the German becomes a very, very important factor. Another thing I want to probably tell most of the audience is that there is a large number of German openings in Germany than English. So if you remember this pie chart which Jagadeesh showed, that about 85% of the applicants actually apply for the jobs which are advertised, I would almost say exactly the same for English-speaking jobs. So almost everyone who's an international or an expat in Germany applies for these very small 5 to 10% of English-speaking jobs, when there is about 90% of German-speaking jobs for which no one applies just because of language. So you are actually fighting for a very small piece of the pie when there is a very big piece of the cake which is just there for you to take it. And that's why the German language becomes very critical in your profile, more so if you are in, for example, finance, in accounting, in marketing, in any of the support functions. So unless you are in a very niche profile like data scientist or AI or autonomous driving, the key skills area, German will become one of the deciding factors in your application.
Thanks, Arun. So yes. I will take the next question to Manoj. Manoj, I think I'm gonna wind up with a lot of questions and make you one. So people are asking about the hackathon. So what is it? Is there a funding? And how can I conquer my competitors? And will my competitors steal my idea? And also, will there be funding in the hackathon? So maybe you can give a big answer.
Okay, there are many questions in that question actually. So first of all, this hackathon is all about bringing the entrepreneurs to on the basic skill sets. We will be taking you to your idea. You will be working on your own idea, and we will make that idea, or you will form a team, and then you can go through all these design thinking tools or lean startups methodologies. And what this time the hackathon is focused on health and well-being. So mostly focused on, like, you can have your any healthcare technology or anything else like related with the like methodology which make the health better, for example. Now, in this hackathon, we will be also talking about, this time we will be not talking about the funding, but we will be talking more about like what are the opportunities. There will be various speakers who will be giving a talk, mostly about the networking skills, for example. There will be also the Invest India will be coming up. There will be also what are the skill sets the entrepreneurs should have. So we'll be all together talking about this. Is there other question I have missed, Jagdish, to answer?
No, I think maybe I will also answer a little bit on this question. So the people who are trying to think of the hackathon or the design thinking, what Manoj gave, I would like to give a little background what we are trying to do. So Manoj and I are co-founders of a initiative called as Dare to Start. So the name itself says what we are trying to do. So we are trying to bring your entrepreneurial ideas to market. So normally people, maybe I just make myself spotlight video. I can't make it.
I can make it. Go ahead.
Okay, so it's an initiative called as Dare to Start. So Manoj and I, we are somehow related to European Union, and we know European markets, how it works, and we have seen a lot of interest in all over the globe, how they want to bring to the Europe their markets, or from Europe they go back to India or anywhere else. So that's why we have started this initiative, and we have already done a hackathon. So hackathon it's like a 48-hour event. It starts from Friday night and ends Sunday night. So it's like a continuous rigging drilling experience where you will be trained on a lot of tools, a lot of methodologies, and there will be high-level professors, professionals, mentors, speakers. They will train you on what all needed for a startup. So last time we have done a hackathon, it's all about tools, but this time we are doing a hackathon about mental health and well-being. So even though if you are a business professional, a software expert, or a design thinking, any kind of thing, you can join there. And so this time we have high-level professionals from European Union and Invest India, and also some others who will train you on a couple of things. And also, I think, Manoj, we did something special for this event, right? Yeah. So we normally put a price on our hackathon. So there is a professional get, I think it's 45 euros. And for a student, it's 35 euros. But for the people who are joining this hackathon, who came this career event, and who already heard Manoj's design thinking workshop, design thinking methodology, he will be talking about prototyping there. We are giving 30% discount. I think I will send you an email afterwards. You can look into it. And if you're interested, feel free to join. So that's like, I want to wind up and also add some little bit of background story, what we are doing it, why we are doing it. It's a more incubator perspective where if you have an idea, we are there to help. Okay. And let's take other questions. Arun. So maybe can you, I'm again mixing a lot of questions. So if somebody is in India or anywhere else, how can they start networking and also start applying in different countries, like example, Switzerland or Germany?
Sure. So this is actually a very relevant question and a very interesting question. So I would actually divide this answer into two parts. One was before the coronavirus situation. And in those times, to answer this question, I would give a very traditional answer saying, of course, you have to go through LinkedIn, you have to apply, and like to networking, obviously, you have to do everything virtually. In the post-COVID situation and in the current times, if you see, everything has moved virtual. And now a lot of the meetups, a lot of the events similar to this webinar, for example, if we were in normal times, we might have done it either in Munich, where Jagadeesh is based, or in Berlin, where I am based. And it would have been very restricted to the number of people who were living in these cities and who were interested. simply because of Corona situation that we are actually doing it online. And we have seen people are joining from China, from US, from Middle East, from literally across the globe. And this is something that you need to keep in mind. So do not let your geographic boundaries or borders be now a factor in your mind. So attend these meetups, attend these events, try to interact, try to bring value. See, now we have about, I think, 100 plus people on the webinar right now. And what are the people who we are going to remember are the ones who are asking the most relevant questions, who are asking the most interesting questions, who are asking questions probably in some cases to which even we don't know the answer to. So it creates an impression, it creates a impact in our minds. And this is an approach you have to do whenever you attend any event. You can find them on Eventbrite, you can find them on meetups. I think in India, there are amazing number of apps. I think it's the same for almost other countries. All the countries would have their own local version of these apps. So this is where I think you should start, and always make sure that you share these kind of events. So I actually want to give out a shout out to PlaceCom. It's an internship based website which is based in India. And I just talked to the person there because of this event, and it's a free event, and they usually interact with a lot of students. And they actually came back and surprised me because they said, okay, we don't put it on our email list, we will actually put it on LinkedIn. So more people can get exposed to it and more people can benefit from it. And if you remember what Jagadeesh said, is that the more you give, the more you will get back. So you have to create value for others first before you can expect something to come back to you. So just keep that approach in mind and go for all these online networking events.
Thanks, Arun. So I'll go for the next question to Manoj. Manoj, how can we raise funds for the startups, like especially the seed grants?
Yeah. So there are various possibilities, by the way, for startups. So I would personally always look for never invest any money from your own pocket. Secondly, you can always look for the government grants or public grants. They are easily, if you are a university graduate or you are PhD or postdoc, then it's easy for you to even basically get the grants from the universities or the governments. If you are a private person, of course, then you have to check what are other possibilities. In this case, you might want to check, there are like, incubators like, there are like the basic ideation level incubation, and they're like medium, like ideation phase, explore phase, and the launch phase. As you always can apply with your idea or with the team. Mostly they take the teams, and once your team is passed through the ideation, they also bring you in front of, like they will basically get you connected with a lot of angel investors, for example, the venture capitalist, and so on and so forth. So depends on your startup at what stage. There are different possibilities of funding opportunities. So like one is the crowdfunding, private funding, government funding, grants, university grants, special grants provided by the government itself for the startups in certain sectors. It could be agriculture, it could be medtech, it could be health tech, it could be food tech. So it depends on your idea and your startup. There are various types of grants. So you have to keep your eyes open, look for the which state, which country you are, and always check their the government website. Also, banks also invest, but that is of course in return. So you have to pay a hefty amount of money. But I would not recommend to go for that kind of investment to start with, unless you are really good and you get validation done. Your startup is in the second stage or third stage. Then only you can go for high investments. I hope that answers your question.
Maybe I can also just add my 2 cents on that. So if Manoj, can you make a spotlight? I'm unable.
You are on Spotlight.
I'm on Spotlight. Perfect. Thanks. So for the initial grants, wherever you are on the planet, it's so easy. So at least getting like a couple of lakhs, if it is Indian rupees, or a couple of euros or dollars, like several thousands, it's not that difficult. Normally in the startups, when we coach them, we always tell them like, look for F cube, 3 Fs, friends, family, and fools. So try to get money from them for your startups. Then afterwards, you have public grants where you can apply. It really depends on the sector. What Manoj said, it could be food, you have something else. If it is biotech, you have something else. If it is automotive sector, you have something else. So it really depends on which area you're working. But the startup immediate grants there are several. It's afterwards you have a problem like finding investors. But the initial grants, it's not a problem at all. If there are questions, feel free to reach us out. We are there to help you. And yeah, let's move to the next question. I think Arun. So it's for you. There are again. I will sum up some questions. Look, I have 3 to 4 international experience, 4 years of international experience. How can I add that to CV? And I don't have a good LinkedIn profile. How can I make a good LinkedIn profile? But I have 10 years of experience. And the third one is that how does ATS works and how to make my CV and LinkedIn applicable to ATS?
Sure, that's quite a lot of comprehensive list of questions. For the first, I would say just add your international experience based on the chronological order from like the newest at the top and just go down to your initial career, initial years of working and just put it there. So I would definitely make sure to highlight international experience because if you look at the world today, we live in a global world. So I was talking to some friend yesterday and she works for a fintech company and I did not realize it. I thought it was a Berlin or a Germany-based company, but then I realized that some part of the team is based in Germany. Their majority of the business is in Brazil. They have their financial team outsourced in Sofia, which is like Eastern Europe, and they have their IT team based in some other country. So what you have to think is that having an international experience on your profile is actually a very, very interesting proposition for the employers because it shows that you understand the intercultural differences and intercultural working dynamics. So just include it. The second question was that you don't have a good CV and a LinkedIn profile. It's never too late to start. So if you know the story of the KFC founder, Kentucky Fried Chicken, the chain that you see everywhere in the globe, the founder started when he was, I think, 80 plus, I think something like that in his age. So you always start somewhere. And if you start today, that is like your start. And just follow, as I said, mentors you can probably follow or connect with me, Jagadeesh or Manoj. You can have a look at our profiles on LinkedIn. You can adopt the best practices, whatever you think Jagadeesh does very well or Manoj does very well. You can take those, you can take from my profile. And just make sure that you just make sure that you keep learning. So don't stop if something doesn't work. We all have a tendency, as Jagadeesh mentioned, he's a scientist, so that our brain is tuned to fear everything. So if there is a mistake, just accept it, learn from it, and move on. And just make sure that you keep consistently improving on whatever you do. The third question, which I think is the ATS question, which is very relevant and might be useful for most of the audience right now, is I have seen a lot of ATS ready or ATS hacks online. Trust me, if you are genuinely not portraying yourself on your CV and you're just stuffing your CV with these ATS keywords, and when it applies also to your LinkedIn profile, what is your long-term goal? Your long-term goal is to get a job. To get a job, you have to go through an interview. And if you just stuff your CV with ATS specific words and not with the real substance of what your experience has been, so your CV might get shortlisted because the ATS works on a logic. It's an algorithm. But when the CV actually reaches into a human hand, whether an HR or a hiring manager, and they start to have a discussion with you, they will see the disconnect in the number of keywords you have in your CV and the actual experience that you bring to the table. So make sure that you use keywords in a smart way. Do not try to game the ATS system because, it doesn't work. In the long run, it doesn't work. You have to make sure that you are doing it smartly. My honest suggestion would be don't even consider ATS because, as Jagadeesh mentioned, 60 to 80% of the jobs you get through network. And if you forward your CV to a person who's working in a company or who can get you into contact with someone who can help you in your hiring, then there is no ATS in the whole process and you basically bypass the whole thing. So I'm a firm believer in not doing what everyone else is doing because everyone applies through ATS, everyone gets, usually 90% of the candidates are rejected. and following the crowd actually leads you to nowhere because you're one of the crowd. So try to stand out, try to be different, and honestly just bypass the whole ATS system itself. Forget about it.
Now, I think now I will ask both of you actually a relevant question. Maybe first Manoj and then back to Arun, just to keep the synchrony. So Manoj, yeah, you are on spotlight. So how do you see COVID's role and entrepreneurship anywhere on the planet, especially in Europe?
This is the best opportunity. This is really the best opportunity. I think the COVID-19 has of course created a lot of personal losses and also the financial losses for the large corporate. However, what I see that large corporates are some of them are really struggling to even keep it up with their finances and so on. And this is the best opportunity for the bright minds to team up with the other people to make the startups, because startup is something even the corporates are investing in it, by the way. So do not shy away. Take this opportunity, seize this opportunity, and really start your journey as an entrepreneur. Make it, because entrepreneur is something it's like the people who, or the colleagues who work within the corporates. So there are many opportunities also. So as an entrepreneur, I have basically left my job, corporate job, even during the COVID. I said, like, I don't want to work with you guys now anymore. I'm going on my own way. So just take this opportunity. I don't think so COVID-19 will affect you. Of course, there is a 40% up to 40% basically reduction in the investment, but that is in a normal sector. There are various sectors which has been opened because of the COVID-19. So healthcare, for example, and other sectors. So think about this opportunity, do your desk research, and start your journey now.
Thanks, Manoj. Maybe I will also add a couple of my understanding over that, because I work for EIT Health, and we have helped until like at least 800 to 900 startups as of now. And I want to, so like whoever have asked this question, I want you to think, what is your situation right now? Are you fired? Will you be hired in next 3 to 6 months? And do you have an entrepreneurial idea? So ask these 3 questions. And if you have an entrepreneurial idea, this is the best time for you to test it out. Why? Because for several months, the hiring is freezed. So the recruiters are not taking any new persons, because recruiters they themselves are fired because there is no business. So that's why if you have any idea to be entrepreneur, test it out. I mean, you can call like 10 to 20 people and see like if there is a market, or find a mentor, or find a hackathon, or find an incubator. And just really, wherever you get an opportunity, if it is free, do it for free. If it is paid, do it paid, and really, test it out. Don't waste your next 2 to 3 months, because things are really at halt, and experiment with everything. Because COVID has killed a lot of markets, especially the automotive, service, and everything. I mean, trust me, it takes a couple of months to recover and rejuvenate. So Arun, it's for you now.
Yeah, thanks, Manoj and Jagadeesh. I would actually agree with both of you, and I would just put it in a different perspective. I would just say that every situation or every crisis is actually an opportunity. Now, it depends on what your goals are, where you want to go. And I would give you a very personal example. I started my career in 2007. So for those who were listening and really saw my first slide, the introduction slide. And I don't know how many of you actually are old enough to remember that, but in 2008, there was a financial crisis. So after the first year of working, people are usually expecting bonuses and promotions and salary increments. We were scared that we might not have a job. And in 2020, we are again in a very similar situation. These things will keep happening. These things will keep coming up and going. Just try to find out how many new businesses or how many professionals actually started their journey in 2007 or 8 during the financial crisis. And they have built up some of the biggest businesses right now. So I think Airbnb, Uber, like WeWork, all of these were created after those crises. So there is always an opportunity, and just make sure that you're always prepared for it. I'll give you a very simple example. So most of the people from India, they would know this group called Reliance Group. And I think in the last 2 weeks, they have gotten investment from Facebook, from KKR, which is one of the biggest PE investment, I think, group. So what matters is the quality, whether as a professional, whether as an entrepreneur. If you have quality and if you know exactly what you want, you will get it. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And this when becomes shorter if you have the right coaches. So if you have entrepreneurial idea, you can go for Jagadeesh and Manoj as mentors. If you want to focus on professional side, you can contact with me. And at the end of the day, the quality will always have value. You will always have value if you bring quality and value to the table.
Thanks, Arun. So I think I will take up the next question. So it's about the networking. Maybe you can also add your ideas. Like how does people do networking from India, and they want to apply for jobs in Germany or anywhere else on the planet? How do people do? Maybe Arun, you answer that, and then I will give my insights.
Sure. So actually, yesterday evening we were having a dinner with our Indian couple friends, and we were discussing this. So I'm really sorry because this might be very relevant, probably only to India, although we have an audience from all over the globe. In India, actually, we never have a concept of networking consciously. If you think about it, we go to office, we start office at about 10, 11, we are in office till about 8 or 9 in the evening, and the whole day is done. For me, till the time I was in India, my network was my current colleagues and my previous colleagues and my MBA batchmates. That's it. I understood the concept of networking when I came to Germany. I understood how critical it is. Also because I was coming from office at 5:30 or 6 in the evening, so I had a lot of time in the evening and I wanted to use this time. And then I realized that you have to reach out. Networking, don't make it a big deal in your mind. It is just like everyone who's in the audience right now and talking to Manoj, Jagadeesh, and myself, we are already networked. So this is the starting point. What you need to do is build up a relationship. Networking is nothing but a relationship where you get a benefit, I get a benefit, Manoj, Jagadeesh, they get a benefit, and everyone grows. The bottom line is people. So, and networking is not about the numbers. Networking is about the quality. So you have to make sure that you have a quality network. And this quality network, honestly, trust me, can take you places. I got my last job because I was helping a friend. I did not even want to change a job at that time, but the offer was really good, so I took it. But this is how networking, quality networking works. And this is what my perspective is.
Thanks, Arun. So I think I can give a generic answer. It's
Jagadeesh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I think I'll have a little bit trouble. So it's for me, the networking is all about creating some value and content. Even if you are in India, even if you are wherever you are on the planet, as Arun said, be an expert. Like read up all your relevant content. When you are an expert, networking is not a big deal at all. So I mean, just think like what is networking from India when you are when you want to apply a job in Germany. Actually did not change much, even if it is Corona crisis or not Corona crisis. Actually, it opened up more opportunities for you to network from India rather than before, because people are all stick to social media. They're all on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn, Twitter. I mean, like I saw recent statistics, everybody are now with the phone from at least 9 to 10 hours a day in this Corona pandemic crisis. So I think you have much more possibilities to network. Only thing, maybe you are missing physical events, but you have tons of webinars every day. Like go to the webinars, reach out to them, write emails, create content, write LinkedIn articles, Medium articles, create an app, whatever you want. I think you have much more opportunities. So the take-home message that I want to give with the networking is create content, say yes, be open, okay, and be honest. Don't forget that. And actually, I want to say that we are over time now, 1 minute. Maybe we need to extend the session for 10 more minutes because the questions are very relevant questions are coming. And I think my apologies, Arun and Manoj. Maybe let's stick for 10 more minutes, and then afterwards we wind up. And there are also a lot of questions about the feedback form. Feedback form, don't be bothered about that. We will send you later, because here we are not for business. We don't really care about how good we do or anything. We know we are of quality, and we are all about helping people. Even Arun his CDG is helping people. My Indian Empowerment Network is helping people. Manoj's Dare to Start is all about helping people, because we have our own other professions. So just stick for 10 more minutes, and then we can wind up. Let's go for other questions. Arun, do you see any relevant questions?
If I have to make a choice, I just see, I'm sorry if I'm missing an earlier question, but there is one question which I think you can answer very well.
Okay. Please, you also have a look. Yeah.
How easy or difficult, so the question is coming from Arpita, how easy or difficult is it for a PhD to make a transition from academia to industry?
Oh, Arpita, maybe we can also talk later. Arpita, I know very well. So,
okay.
So it's not that difficult. I mean, the only thing is that if you are doing a PhD, like if your time span is 3 to 4 hours, first thing is at second year or third year of PhD, get clarity what you want. You want to be in academia or you want to be in industry. When you want to be in industry, then make all the plans according to that. Get the PhD done. Get some certificates like project management, some business skills, and really some kind of relevant skills where you want to end up and what the industry you are looking for. And then afterwards, slowly make contacts with that industry professionals. Wherever you are on the planet, trust me, you automatically attract. You first get clarity on what you want, and you will make your waves. You can invite people for your events, or you can go to their events and start networking. So once you have relevant experience, once you know what you want, and once you identify whom you want to work with, it's so easy. It's not that difficult. People think it's so difficult. Why? Because they didn't plan it quite well. If you plan it quite well before, like in your second or third year of PhD, it's a piece of cake.
Maybe I should add. I can add on that.
Yeah.
Basically, also as a PhD or even a like master student or the bachelor student, you always can attend the conferences. Now, in these times, you cannot, but of course, there are various online events happening. So what you can do, you can, this is again networking skills, right? So you can always attend the conferences and attach to, like always talk to those corporates or the people, startups. Basically, there are a lot of the people who are representing in such a scientific conferences, or there are job tech fairs also available. So always attend them, talk to those people, get connected with these people. It depends on like what kind of job are you looking for in industry. If it is relevant to your own PhD or the master, for example, you can go into that application developer or project manager or some sales. There are various types of job profiles. So based on the job profile, you can, of course, you need to get the skills set in your hand. So as Jagdish mentioned, you need to get certificates, but not necessarily all the time. Based on your skill set, people will definitely take you. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Manoj. So I think there is one question maybe I can take, how to find a quality mentor and who is a quality mentor. So I think I can answer this. Why I can answer this is because I built a network of around 500 mentors. It's called Mentoring and Coaching Network for EIT Health. And even Indian Empowerment Network is a peer-to-peer mentoring network. So how and why and when and where. And so I'm kind of winded up all these questions in few sentences. So how to find mentors is all about asking. You know, you need to ask even your brother, sister, friend, I need help. I need help. When you ask, you definitely will get a mentor. You will get a quality mentor. Why? Because people are very shy to ask. Once you ask, people are ready to help you. And when they start helping you, you can immediately identify who is quality and who is not. Sometimes you need to pay people who are very quality and certified mentors, but in reality, you don't need them. So only like if you need a certified coaches, you get it. But otherwise, your teachers could be your good mentors. Your friends could be your good mentors. For example, I call Arun and Manoj as my mentors because they help me out in many aspects. And we have this philosophy that friends can't be mentors, but I kind of reject that. Why? Because friends could be also very good mentors for you, only because they give different perspective. And and when you look for any kind of relevancy, for example, you are looking for a mentor in startups. So try to reach out to people who have already made a startup. And sometimes you need to reach out to the people who have failed in making startups. Why? Because they know the lessons of University of Hard Knocks. So where they have learned experience from their first hand, and then they can train you. So it's all about reaching out. When you ask and ask, it's not difficult to get a mentor. Okay.
Yeah. Jagdish, if I could just add on to that.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, then if you're looking for a quality mentor, what you also need to keep in mind that quality is a two-way street. So obviously, you get a quality from a quality mentor. They will give you feedback or answer your questions. At the same time, you have to show that you're putting in the hard work and you're putting in the efforts from your side. Because if someone is spending their time and taking that time away probably from their family or work or something else, then it's very discouraging to actually see that the whole feedback is going down the drain. There is no action, there is no results coming out of it. And this is something where you and your responsibility comes in, that you need to make sure that the mentor is actually engaged, and the level of engagement will depend on how much you yourself are engaged in the relationship. So this is my 2 cents on that.
Excellent, Arun. I mean, I think it's a give and take policy. Manoj, you want to add something?
Yes, as I'm a professional coach and mentor, I would like to add. So basically, being a coach, if you are looking for mentor and coach, you need to first find it out for what. What is your reason to find a coach and a mentor? So first find it out yourself. For what reason are you looking for or mentor or coach? It's like you need a spiritual coach or spiritual mentor, a guru, for example. You need professional coach or professional just to find a job, for example, where Arun is sitting here like that. Or you are in startup. You need a like business coach. You need the design thinking coach, or you are a professional working for a corporate. You need a career coach, or you basically are something else, so you have to first find it out what kind of mentor or a coach you are looking for. And there is of course a difference between a coach and a mentor and a trainer. So a trainer is something who gives you the information, who trains you. The mentor is someone who basically go through you, like he's more involved in it. And a coach is someone who basically guides you. So you need to also find it out. You need a mentor, you need a coach, or you need a trainer. So this is more even a more high level. So first question you should ask yourself, why you need coach? The why thing is important in your before you even look for the coach or mentor. Yeah, thanks.
Wow, Manoj, thank you so much. I mean,
Yeah,
if you haven't answered that, I think we might have missed a beautiful piece of information. I think you nailed it down. Thanks, Manoj.
Yeah, I think both Jagdish and I have a smile on our faces simply because, like, the clarity of the thought, the way he put it and made it so simple and broke it down into steps. Like, this is what you always learn talking to each other. So it's not just the audience who's learning. Like, I'm actually amazed, like the inputs that I'm getting from you and Manoj.
Arun, I think let's take the last question and wind it up.
Sure.
So I think there is a lot about rejections. So why the applications get rejected and how to deal with the rejections?
Okay. Yeah, rejections are hard. They hit you very hard. It hits not only your time and effort and energy, it hits your confidence, it hits your sometimes the core. And I know this because I was unemployed for 6 months when I came to Germany. I was applying, obviously, like you guys, and usually 99.9% of the times I was getting a rejection. So I know how it feels to go through that, especially when you don't have a job. Having said that, because I'm older and I'm wiser, I would say rejection teaches you things which nothing else teaches you. So there is something missing. There is something that you need to do differently. There is something that you need to change. It doesn't matter. I cannot tell you specifically, like, because it's a generic answer, but something in your CV, something in your profile. And the best way to think about it of such a rejection, especially at application stages, have you read your job description? Have you, now when you put your job description and your application, your CV, does the CV actually answer the questions which the job description is asking for? That is a very basic thing. Secondly, have you actually put all the thought which Jagadeesh shared in his presentation of how to create a CV, the do's and the don'ts, and then built up your CV? Third can be actually, how are you applying? So personally, I told you I'm not a big fan of applying through job portals and those things. I would actually prefer to apply through a mentor or through some contact or references. And you saw the statistics from Jagadeesh that 60 to 80% of the jobs are filled that way. So what the rejection is trying to tell you is you need to change, you need to adapt, you need to do something else to actually get the results that you want. Now, I know that it is very easy for me to say this right now. Rejections definitely are hard, but learn from the rejection. And Jagadeesh, I learned this from Dr. Ushi's seminar or talk. You need to learn the lesson, forget the hurt. So learn what you need to change, what you need to adapt, and forget the rejection. Trust me, honestly, the way I dealt with it was I stopped looking at a rejection. If the letter had Leider, which is unfortunately in German, I did not even read the mail. Because I was very clear, I want a job. So I channeled that frustration and anger and disappointment into making my next application even better. And this is how you have to look at a rejection. Why? The answer lies with you. How you can change it, the answer lies with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arun. So, and I mean, my apologies for the people who wrote questions and we couldn't answer because of the time pressure. We need to leave now. I need to jump to other meeting. And yeah, so the take-home message that we want to tell you is that have good CVs, develop good networking skills, maintain your 5-star LinkedIn profile, like all-star, not 5-star. And like if you are an entrepreneur and you want to start somewhere, we have our association called Dare to Start. And we have immediately available hackathon. And for you people, we are even making 30% discount for the thing. Normally, we don't do discounts because it's a high quality hackathon. There are also people here in this webinar who attended our last month hackathons. We bring all, yeah, Arun has, exactly. So we will send you all the details through an email. And also for the people who asked for the feedback form, we will send you an email. And yeah, just stay in touch with our LinkedIn or join our Indian Empowerment Network Facebook group. It's a peer-to-peer mentoring group. And we would say a very, very big thanks for you all. And I'm actually unmuting everybody. You can actually, what to say, have a clap. So you could unmute yourself and want to clap or say thanks or anything else. And we will leave the.
So thank you for all the participants for joining.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now you guys are allowed to make a noise.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
It
very
was
much.
nice talking with you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj, Dr. Jagadeesh, Arun. Thank you very much for all your time and for.
I hope this kind of webinar will be happen again
Thank you very much.
in the future. Yeah.
Finger crossed. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we are waiting for the webinar again.
Yes.
Thank you.
It really enlightened all of us.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Jagadeesh, Arun, and Manoj. It was really enlightening.
Thank you, Mamta.
I know this voice.
It's Mamta.
Mamta. Okay.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank
Webinars.
Thanks a lot for conducting such an informative webinar. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Srinivas.
Pleasure.
I think I need to speak to Rajesh. Sir, are you connected to Jidnyasa? I will unmute you. I will unmute you. So, sir, can you please unmute yourself? We are unable to hear you.
I did him.
Yes. Sir, please. No, we can't hear you.
There is some issue.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Are you
A little bit, very low volume. Can you speak out a bit loud? No. Your volume is very, very low.
Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think you are related to Jidnasa, right?
Her father.
Yeah. Hi, uncle.
Very nice interactive session, and it is really good that properly with the guys and those who are in the area. Yes, I just had